a millionaire, disguised himself as a janitor in his own hotel, until the poor receptionist did something that left him speechless and changed the course of the story. Before we begin, leave a comment telling us which city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. No one imagined that the man scrubbing the floor of a 5-star hotel lobby in Manhattan was the owner of the whole place. But that was exactly what was happening, and what came next would change the lives of two people forever. Alexander Hawthorne, a millionaire and owner of the Hawthorne Hotels chain, was scrubbing the Italian marble floor while wearing a faded blue janitor's uniform. The idea of disguising himself as a janitor had seemed brilliant the night before. His hotel was falling apart in online reviews. Guests complained about terrible service, and his manager Gerald kept insisting everything was perfect. Alexander needed the truth, and no one tells the truth to a millionaire boss. So he became Alex, the temporary janitor. And while he was there scrubbing the floor near the front desk, he saw a woman rushing inside. Messy brown hair, wrinkled uniform, high heels in one hand and a giant coffee in the other. "Oh no, oh no, oh no," she repeated as she ran barefoot through the lobby. Alexander watched, trying not to laugh. She rushed past him, tossed her bag behind the counter, and started putting on her shoes while balancing the coffee. "You're new?" she asked without looking, slipping on the second shoe. "First day." "Welcome to the madhouse." She looked at him and smiled. A huge smile, one of those that fills the whole face. "I'm Alyssa Page, receptionist and babysitter of rich adults who think the world revolves around them." Alexander stood up, holding the mop. "Alex, did you clean that?" Alyssa pointed at the wet floor. "I tried. I bet it was the guest in 1408. That man spills food here in the lobby every night." She rolled her eyes. "Last week he spilled it in the elevator, in front of everyone. Gerald didn't even show up to talk to him." "Gerald?" "The manager, a useless man in an expensive suit." Alyssa took a sip of her coffee. "He'll be here soon to treat you like trash, and you'll want to quit on your first day. My advice? Ignore everything he says." Before Alexander could answer, the elevator opened and Gerald appeared. A perfectly fitted gray suit, hair slicked back, and an expression of superiority. "Alyssa, 5 minutes late." "Good morning to you too, Gerald." Alyssa didn't look worried at all. "This is unacceptable, and your uniform is a mess." "My uniform is clean. If you want something stiff and perfect, hire a model, not a receptionist." Gerald's face turned red. "Watch your tone, Miss Page." "Watch your tone, Gerald. Especially considering that yesterday you left 3 guests waiting for half an hour because you were in your office watching videos on your phone." Alexander bit his lip so he wouldn't laugh. "That woman was something else. How dare you accuse me?" "I dared because it's true. And you know who solved the problem? Me. As always." Alyssa crossed her arms and stared directly into his eyes without blinking. Gerald opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again like a fish out of water. Then he turned to Alexander. "You, janitor, the 3rd-floor bathroom is filthy. Go up now and clean it." "Actually," Alyssa interrupted, "the 3rd-floor cleaning team only arrives at 7. It's on the schedule. You approved yourself, Gerald. Remember? Or do you want me to get the paper to refresh your memory?" Gerald practically growled. "I am the manager of this hotel, and I am the receptionist who keeps this place from turning into a war zone." Alyssa smiled sweetly. "So how about doing your job and letting me do mine?" For a moment, Alexander thought Gerald would explode, but he just huffed loudly, turned around, and stormed toward the office, slamming the door. Alyssa waited 3 seconds and burst out laughing. "That man is pathetic. I swear, I don't know how he still has a job here." "You always talk like that to your boss?" Alexander asked, impressed. "Boss?" Alyssa made a face. "Gerald isn't my real boss. He's just a suit-wearing puppet who loves bossing people around. My real boss is the hotel owner, and I've never seen that man in my life. He's probably on some private island counting money." Alexander almost choked. "But anyway," Alyssa continued, "don't let Gerald intimidate you. He barks a lot but doesn't bite, and if he gives you too much trouble, tell me and I'll handle it." "You'd handle it for me?" "Of course. Workers need to protect each other. This hotel doesn't run because of foolish managers. It runs because of people like us who actually work." She tapped the counter with determination. Here, no one lowers their head to someone who doesn't deserve respect. At that moment, an elderly guest approached the front desk, looking irritated. Finally, is anyone at this desk, or do I have to wait all day? Alyssa changed her expression instantly, opening a warm smile. Good morning, ma'am. I'm very sorry for the wait. How can I help you? My room is freezing. I turned on the heater yesterday and it didn't work. That's awful. It must have been very uncomfortable. Alyssa was already typing on the computer. Let me check here. Mrs. Harrison, room 512, correct? Yes, I'll send a technician right now, and while you wait, how about an upgrade to a suite on the 10th floor? No extra cost, of course. It's the least we can do for the inconvenience. Mrs. Harrison blinked, surprised. Really? Absolutely. And I'll ask them to bring fresh coffee and croissants to your room. Would you like that? Well, yes. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Alyssa handed her a new key. Enjoy the suite, Mrs. Harrison. The woman left smiling, completely transformed. Alexander was speechless. You just gave her a free upgrade? So what? Alyssa shrugged. She was right to be upset. The heater should work. Now she'll leave happy, write a good review, and come back. It's simple. Treat people well, and they return. And does Gerald approve these upgrades? Alyssa let out a laugh. Gerald doesn't even approve of his own reflection. I do what is right, not what he says. Alexander stood there holding the mop, completely fascinated. In 10 minutes, that woman had faced the manager, defended an employee she barely knew, and solved a problem with efficiency and kindness. She was absolutely incredible. And Gerald was definitely fired. Hey, Alex, Alyssa called. When you finish there, come here so I can teach you the hotel tricks. The team has to help each other, right? Alexander smiled. Of course. As he went back to scrubbing the floor, he thought that maybe this was the best decision he had made in years. He wasn't just going to find out what was wrong with the hotel. He was going to find out everything about Alyssa Page. Alexander spent the rest of the morning pretending to clean, but in reality watching Alyssa work. And what a show it was. At 8:30, a man in a suit came in, shouting that he had missed the most important meeting of his life because of the hotel. Sir, did you ask for a wake-up call at 7? Alyssa asked calmly. No, I asked for 6. Alyssa typed on the computer. According to our system, you called yesterday at 10 p.m. asking for 7. In fact, you said, and I quote, 7 sharp because I need to sleep well. The man turned red. That is, well? But don't worry, Alyssa smiled. Everyone gets times wrong sometimes. My grandmother once went to Sunday Mass thinking it was Saturday, sat right in front. The priest had to explain it was choir rehearsal. She winked. Would you like me to call a cab? Uber? Helicopter? We don't have a helicopter, but I can try to improvise with an umbrella and a lot of faith. The man couldn't hold it and laughed. A cab is fine. It's already on the way. And good luck at your meeting. If they complain about the delay, say you rescued a kitten. Everyone forgives someone who saves a kitten. The man left laughing and shaking his head. Alexander was speechless. She had turned an angry guest into a laughing one in less than 2 minutes. Hey, Alex. Alyssa waved. Come here, I need your help. He dropped the mop and walked to the front desk. Do you need me to clean something? No. I need you to be my accomplice. She lowered her voice in a conspiratorial tone. See that couple there? She pointed discreetly to 2 elderly people sitting on the lobby sofa, looking tired. The Johnsons. Today is their wedding anniversary, 50 years together. That's nice. Nice? It's amazing. And do you know what Gerald did when they mentioned it yesterday? Nothing. 0. Zilch. Not even a congratulations. Alyssa rolled her eyes. So I'm going to prepare a surprise for them, but I need your help to distract Gerald. Distract how? Go to his office and, I don't know, spill water, pretend you need instructions, ask where the supply room is. Anything that keeps him away for 10 minutes. Alexander smiled. I can do that. Great. Go now. He walked to Gerald's office and knocked on the door. What is it? Gerald didn't even lift his eyes from the computer screen. Sorry to bother you, sir, but where exactly is the cleaning supply room? Gerald sighed dramatically. In the basement. Stairs at the end of the hall. And, how do I open the door? Do I need a key? Obviously you need a key. Do you think we leave a supply room open for anyone to walk in? That makes sense. And where do I get the key? From the cleaning supervisor. And where is she? Gerald finally looked at him, irritated. How am I supposed to know? Go look. Alexander pretended to be confused. But aren't you the manager? Shouldn't you know where the staff is? I am not anyone's babysitter. Oh, I see. So you only manage? What exactly? Gerald's face turned purple. He stood up so fast he almost knocked over the chair. Are you trying to challenge me? On your first day? No, sir. I'm just trying to understand the hierarchy so I can do my job correctly. For a full 10 minutes, Gerald yelled about respect, hierarchy, professionalism, and several other topics that had nothing to do with the original question. Alexander only nodded and pretended to listen, while mentally calculating how much it would cost to replace that incompetent man. When he finally managed to escape the office, he returned to the lobby and almost fell back. The front desk was decorated with silver balloons. There was a small cake with candles, champagne and crystal glasses, and Alyssa was handing red roses to Mrs. Johnson, who was crying with emotion. 50 years is an amazing achievement, Alyssa said, hugging the couple. You two are an inspiration. How did you know? Mr. Johnson asked, touched. Oh, I have my secret methods. Alyssa winked. Actually, you mentioned it yesterday and I wrote it down. Wedding anniversaries never go unnoticed on my shift. Other guests in the lobby started clapping. Some took pictures. Mrs. Johnson was glowing. Alexander watched from afar, completely charmed. None of that had come from the hotel budget. Alyssa had bought everything with her own money. When the Johnsons finally went up to their room, taking the cake and flowers with them, Alyssa returned behind the desk with a satisfied smile. Did you manage to distract the tyrant? She asked. I did. He spent 10 minutes yelling at me. Perfect. Thanks, partner. She held out her hand for a high five. Alexander tapped her hand, laughing. You bought all of that? Of course. The hotel wasn't going to do anything, so I did. But it must have been expensive. Alyssa shrugged. Some things are worth more than money. Did you see their faces? Totally worth it. Before Alexander could respond, Gerald appeared like a storm. Alyssa! What is this mess? Mess? She looked around, pretending to be confused. Everything is clean, Gerald. The balloons. The cake. Who authorized this? I authorized it. It was the Johnsons' wedding anniversary. You don't have the authority to spend hotel money on. I didn't spend hotel money. I spent my money. Gerald blinked. What? My money. You know, that thing we earn by working? I used mine to make an elderly couple happy. Any problem? That is, it is. Beautiful, generous, exactly the kind of service that makes guests come back. Alyssa smiled sweetly. Gerald opened and closed his mouth several times. Then he pointed a finger at her. You are going to get in trouble with that attitude, Miss Page. And you are going to end up alone in this hotel if you keep being rude to everyone, Gerald. He left, fuming. Alyssa waited until he disappeared, then turned to Alexander. You know what Gerald's problem is? What? He thinks managing is giving orders. But real managing is taking care of things, people, the place, the details. She sighed. I bet the owner of this hotel doesn't even know he hired someone like him. Alexander choked. Someone like him? Yes, someone who is soft, yellow on the outside, and not very useful, except as decoration. He laughed so hard he had to lean on the counter. You're amazing, Alyssa. I know, she winked. And you seem nice too, Alex. Most new cleaning staff get scared of Gerald, but you faced him just fine. I learned from the best, Alexander smiled. Oh, stop, or I'll get emotional. Alyssa pretended to wipe away a tear. Now get back to work before someone thinks we're planning a revolution. Aren't we? Oh, we are, but it's a secret. She made a silence gesture with her finger on her lips. Alexander went back to the service area, grabbed the mop, but couldn't stop smiling. In just a few hours in disguise, he had already discovered 3 things. 1. Gerald was worse than he imagined and needed to be fired immediately. 2. His hotel was running not because of management, but despite it, thanks to amazing employees like Alyssa. 3. He was completely fascinated by a funny receptionist who bought balloons with her own money and called the manager useless. The phone in his pocket vibrated. A message from the vice president of the company, meeting report attached, needs your approval by tomorrow. Alexander looked at the screen, then at Alyssa, who was humming while organizing papers at the front desk. For the first time in 10 years, he ignored a work message. Some things were more important than reports. How to find out if Alyssa was single. The next morning, Alexander arrived at the hotel at 6 sharp. This time prepared. He had bought a new jumpsuit, still ugly but at least it didn't smell musty, and even watched YouTube videos about how to mop floors professionally. Pathetic? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely. Alyssa arrived 15 minutes later, this time on schedule, but with her hair even messier than the day before. "Good morning, partner in crime," she shouted across the lobby. "Did you survive your first day?" "I survived. And you?" "Oh, I always survive. I'm like a cockroach. Indestructible." She tossed her bag behind the counter. "But I admit that last night I dreamed Gerald turned into a giant balloon and floated away. It was beautiful." Alexander laughed as he wrung out the mop. "That would be a good solution. Right? Someone invent that, please." Alyssa turned on the computer and made a face. "Oh no, there's a convention in the event hall today. 200 lawyers. 200. Is that bad?" "Alex, lawyers in a group are like pigeons. They make noise, complain about everything, and always leave a mess." She sighed dramatically. "Get the mop ready. You'll need it." As if he had heard her, Gerald stepped out of the elevator with a clipboard in hand. "Alyssa, the lawyers' convention starts at 9. I want everything perfect. Hot coffee, snacks organized, and most of all, no confusion." "Gerald, relax. I know how to do my job. Your job is to follow my instructions. Your instructions are usually don't do anything and leave everything bad, so I'll keep doing things my way." Alyssa smiled sweetly. Gerald pointed a finger at her, but before he could speak, the reception phone rang. "Front desk, Alyssa speaking." She answered in a sing-song voice. "Yes, sir, I understand. No problem." She hung up and looked at Gerald. "Guest in 804 complained that the shower has low pressure. And? Aren't you going to send someone to fix it?" "Alyssa, we have a convention starting in 2 hours. The shower can wait." "Gerald, the man pays $300 a night. He wants to shower now, not 2 hours from now." "That is not a priority." Alyssa grabbed the phone and dialed. "Hi, Rick? It's Alyssa. Can you stop by 804? "Shower problem? Great, thank you." Gerald turned red. "I did not authorize that, and I wasn't asking for authorization." She winked. "Next problem?" Alexander watched everything while pretending to clean the same tile for the 10th time. That woman was incredible. At 8:30, the lawyers started to arrive. Alyssa was right. They were loud, demanding, and complained about absolutely everything. "The coffee is cold. This snack has no salt. Where's the Wi-Fi?" Alyssa handled everyone with patience and a smile, but Alexander could see the vein pulsing on her forehead. Then he appeared. The most annoying lawyer of all. Gray suit, slick hair, and a voice that sounded like a car horn. "You, receptionist," he yelled, hitting the counter. "Good morning, sir. How may I help you?" "My name is Howard Sterling, and I am a partner at one of the biggest law firms in New York. I booked the presidential suite, and you gave me a basic room." Alyssa checked the computer. "Mr. Sterling, according to our system, you booked a standard room." "Impossible. I always stay in the presidential suite." "I understand, but the reservation here is for a standard room." "This is unacceptable. You people are incompetent. I want to speak to the manager now." Alyssa took a deep breath. Alexander saw her count to 10 in her head. "I will call the manager, sir. One moment." She stepped out from behind the counter and went to Gerald's office. 2 minutes later, she returned with him. "Mr. Sterling," Gerald said in the fakest tone imaginable, "I am sorry for the inconvenience. We will fix this immediately." "I hope so. Do you have any idea who I am?" "Yes, sir. You are an important guest," Gerald typed on the computer. "Unfortunately, the presidential suite is occupied until tomorrow. I can offer." "I don't care. I want the suite now. Remove whoever is in there." Alexander almost dropped the bucket. That guy was asking them to throw another guest out? Gerald, cowardly as always, began to stutter. "Well, sir, we cannot exactly." "Then give me some suit, anything. Just don't make me sleep in a poor person's room." Alyssa, who had been quiet until then, stepped forward. "Mr. Sterling, with all due respect, all our rooms are excellent, and calling any of them a poor person's room is offensive to every guest who stays in them." Howard looked at her as if she were an insect. "Who are you to lecture me? I'm the receptionist trying to help you without kicking other guests out of their rooms." "You insolent woman. Gerald, this employee just insulted me." "Alyssa," Gerald hissed, "apologize now." "Apologize for what? For telling the truth?" "You are fired," Howard shouted. "You can't fire me. I don't work for you." Gerald, fire this woman now or I will cancel the entire convention. Alexander saw Gerald hesitate. He saw the man doing mental math. A convention of 200 lawyers meant a lot of money. Alyssa was just an employee. Alyssa, Gerald said slowly, go home. We're suspending you until further notice. Alexander's world stopped. That coward was really suspending the best employee in the hotel because of a spoiled lawyer? Are you serious? Alyssa asked, stunned. Completely serious. Leave. For a moment, Alexander thought she would cry, but then Alyssa straightened her back, grabbed her bag, and looked directly at Gerald. You know, Gerald, I've worked in this hotel for 3 years. 3 years covering your incompetence, fixing your mistakes, and keeping this place running while you sit in your office pretending to work. She turned to Howard. And you, important lawyer, should learn that yelling at employees doesn't make anyone important. It just makes you rude. How dare you? I dare because I have dignity, something you two clearly don't have. Alyssa looked at the other employees watching everything. Good luck, everyone. You'll need it. And she left. She simply left. Alexander stood there holding the mop, watching the most incredible woman he had ever met be humiliated and suspended unfairly. Howard Sterling went back to the event hall smiling as if he had won a battle. Gerald went back to his office, relieved. And Alexander Hawthorne made a decision. He took his phone out of his pocket and typed a message to his personal lawyer. I need you at the Hawthorne Hotel, Manhattan now, and bring the ownership documents. It was 9 a.m. on an ordinary Tuesday. But in exactly 1 hour, many people were going to find out that messing with the wrong person had consequences, and Alexander was going to make sure Alyssa Page received the justice she deserved. 50 minutes later, a man in a suit walked into the hotel carrying a leather folder. Thomas Green, Alexander's personal lawyer for 10 years, looked around searching for his boss and almost didn't recognize the billionaire dressed as a janitor. Mr. Hawthorne? He whispered, walking closer. Tom, did you bring the documents? I did, but I need to say this is absolutely insane. Thomas looked at the jumpsuit. Why exactly are you dressed like that? Long story. Where is Gerald? In his office, I assume. Alexander took a deep breath. Great. Let's end this. They walked to the office. Alexander knocked once and entered without waiting. Gerald looked up from his phone, annoyed. What do you want now, janitor? And who is this? My name is Thomas Green. I'm a lawyer. Thomas placed the folder on the desk. And you are fired. Gerald blinked. What? Fired. Dismissed. Let go. Removed. Alexander took off the dirty cap. Grab your things and get out of my hotel. Your hotel? You're a janitor. No, Gerald. I'm Alexander Hawthorne, owner of the Hawthorne Hotels chain. He pointed at the documents Thomas was opening. These prove I own this hotel and 15 others across the United States, and you are fired for incompetence, negligence, and for allowing excellent employees to be mistreated. The color drained from Gerald's face. This is a prank? It's not a prank. It's reality. You have 30 minutes to clear your office and return your badge. Alexander crossed his arms. And you can be grateful I'm not suing you for everything you did wrong here. But I've managed this hotel for 5 years and destroyed its reputation in 6 months. Reviews dropped, guests complain constantly, and you treat employees like trash. Alexander leaned over the desk. Do you know what your biggest mistake was, Gerald? What? Suspending Alyssa Page, the best employee in this hotel. The only person who actually cared about the guests and kept this place running while you watched videos on your phone. Gerald swallowed hard. I can explain. No need. I'm seeing everything in the reports. Alexander nodded to Thomas. 30 minutes, Gerald. After that, I call security. They left the office, leaving Gerald in total shock. And now? Thomas asked. Now we're going after a very rude lawyer. Howard Sterling was in the event hall, talking loudly on the phone and gesturing dramatically. Alexander walked in and went straight toward him. Mr. Sterling, I need to speak with you. Howard looked at the jumpsuit and frowned. I don't speak to cleaning staff. Get out. My name is Alexander Hawthorne, and I own this hotel. Howard laughed. Of course you do, and I'm the president. Thomas stepped forward. Mr. Sterling, I represent Mr. Hawthorne legally. I can confirm that he is indeed the owner of this establishment. Howard's laughter stopped. Wait, seriously? Completely serious. Alexander kept his voice calm. And I'm here to inform you that your stay at this hotel has been canceled. You have 1 hour to check out. You can't do that. I can, and I am. This is my hotel, and I decide who stays here. I'm gonna sue. I'll destroy your reputation. You can try. Alexander smiled. But my lawyer here recorded everything that happened this morning, including the part where you yelled at an employee, called her disrespectful, and demanded she be fired for doing her job correctly. Howard turned purple. It's true, and it's all documented. Thomas tapped the folder. If you really want to start a legal fight, I would be happy to defend Mr. Hawthorne, but I must warn you, it would not be a good idea. The convention? We have a contract. You had. Alexander took a paper from Thomas's folder. This contract had a clause about proper behavior. You broke that clause by mistreating employees. Therefore, the contract is canceled with no right to a refund. Howard opened and closed his mouth like a fish. Then he grabbed his phone and left the room shouting at someone. The other attorneys watched everything in silence. Ladies and gentlemen, Alexander announced, I'm sorry to inform you the convention has been canceled. You may continue your stay at the hotel normally, but the events are closed. We apologize for the inconvenience. There were murmurs, but no one complained. Probably because everyone had seen Howard Sterling making a scene. Alexander returned to the lobby. Several employees were standing around, clearly confused about what was happening. Everyone, could you come here, please? He called. 15 employees approached nervously. My name is Alexander Hawthorne, and I own this hotel chain. I spent the last 2 days disguised as a janitor to understand what was happening here. He looked at each of them, and I found out that you work hard, try your best, and are treated terribly by incompetent management. A housekeeper raised her hand shyly. Are you going to close the hotel, sir? No, I'm going to fix the hotel, and to do that, I need your help. What do you mean? The doorman asked. I want you to tell me everything that's wrong. Don't be afraid of retaliation. Gerald has been fired. Now you report directly to me, and I promise I will listen. There was silence for a moment. Then the same housekeeper spoke. The uniforms are old and torn. We've asked for new ones for months, but Gerald always said no. Noted. New uniforms for everyone. Alexander signaled for Thomas to write it down. The kitchen heater doesn't work right, the cook said. We've been complaining since January. I'll have it fixed today. Our salaries haven't been adjusted in 2 years, the substitute receptionist murmured. Everyone will receive a retroactive raise starting next month. The employees looked at each other, stunned. Are you serious, sir? The doorman asked. Completely serious. This hotel only works because of you. It's fair that you're treated and paid properly. Alexander paused. But I need one piece of information. Does anyone know where Alyssa Page lives? Alyssa? The housekeeper smiled. Everyone knows. She lives in a small apartment on Oak Street, number 247. Why? Because I'm going there right now. Alexander was already removing the coveralls, showing the clothes underneath. Tom, you take over here. Hire a temporary manager and start the repairs. I'll be back soon. Mr. Hawthorne, what exactly are you going to do? Alexander stopped at the door and smiled. I'm going to apologize to the most incredible woman I've ever met, and I'm going to offer her the job of her dreams. Thomas sighed. This is going to be trouble. Probably. Alexander nodded, but it will be worth it. And he ran out, leaving the whole hotel in shock and a lawyer shaking his head, but smiling anyway. Alyssa's building was exactly what Alexander imagined. Old, but well cared for. Peeling walls, but flower pots in the windows. The kind of place where hard-working people lived because it was what they could afford, not what they wanted. He climbed 3 flights of stairs. The elevator had a sign that said under repair since March and stopped in front of apartment 3B. He took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Nothing. He knocked again. Just a second. Alyssa's voice shouted from inside. The door opened, and she appeared wearing flannel pajamas with a cat print, her hair in a crooked bun, and holding a spoonful of ice cream. If you're selling something, I don't want it. If you're preaching religion, I respect that, but no thank you. If you're lost, the bakery is 2 streets down and... She stopped, blinked, looked at Alexander as if she were seeing a ghost. Alex? Hi, Alyssa. What are you doing here? She looked down the hallway, confused. How did you find out where I live? Can I come in? I need to talk to you. Talk? Alex, I was suspended today. I'll probably be fired for real. I'm not exactly in the mood for conversations. She pointed her spoon of ice cream at him. I'm in the mood for drowning my problems in Ben & Jerry's. Please, 5 minutes. Alyssa sighed and opened the door. All right, but if you're here to give a motivational speech, I'm telling you now, it won't work. The apartment was small but cozy, old but clean sofa, a shelf full of books, and photos everywhere. Alexander recognized the Johnson couple in one of the pictures. She had framed the photo from their anniversary. So? Alyssa sat on the sofa, hugging the ice cream tub. What does the new janitor want with me? Alexander took a deep breath. I'm not a janitor. Huh? My name isn't Alex. Well, it is Alex, but it's Alexander. Alexander Hawthorne, Alyssa laughed. Hawthorne? Like the owner of Hawthorne Hotel? Exactly. She stopped laughing. Wait, are you serious? Completely serious. Alexander took out his wallet and showed his ID. Alyssa looked at the document, then at him, then at the document again. The spoon fell on the floor. You're my boss? Technically, yes. The billionaire I said was on an island counting money? That one. Alyssa stood up so fast she almost tripped. I called Gerald a banana right in front of you. And you were right. He's a banana. I said you didn't know you had hired an incompetent. You were right about that too. Alexander took a step toward her. Alyssa, I disguised myself as a janitor because I needed to find out what was wrong with the hotel. Reviews were dropping, guests were complaining, and Gerald kept saying everything was fine. So you pretended to be a janitor to spy on me? Not to spy on you, to find the truth, he sighed. And I did. The problem wasn't the hotel. It was the management. Gerald is terrible, treats everyone badly, and the hotel only worked because of amazing employees like you. Alyssa sat down again, looking stunned. This is crazy, pure craziness. I know, and I'm sorry I didn't reveal myself earlier, but if I showed up as the owner, no one would tell the truth. Alexander sat next to her, keeping a respectful distance. I came because you were suspended unfairly. Because of me, technically. Because of you? If I had revealed myself when that lawyer started yelling, none of this would have happened. Howard Sterling is an idiot, Alyssa muttered, but I chose to stand up to him. It was my decision. And it was the right decision. You defended your principles, protected the dignity of the job, and showed more courage than many executives I know. Alexander smiled. That's why I came. Gerald was fired. Alyssa almost dropped the ice cream again. Wired. Today. An hour ago. Alexander explained everything. The revelation of his identity, Gerald's dismissal, Howard Sterling being thrown out, the promises made to the staff. When he finished, Alyssa was speechless. You fired Gerald and kicked out an important lawyer because of me? Not just because of you, because of all the employees he mistreated. But yes, you were the last straw. Wow. Alyssa ran a hand through her hair. This is... wow. I don't even know what to say. You don't need to say anything, but there's something I want to offer you. If it's my job back, I accept. I need to pay rent. Alexander laughed. It's not just that. I want to offer you the hotel management. The silence that followed was so deep Alexander could hear the kitchen clock ticking. Sorry. Alyssa finally said, I think I heard wrong. It sounded like you offered me management. You heard right. Alexander, I'm a receptionist. I don't have a hotel management degree. I don't have an MBA. I have nothing but 3 years of experience at the front desk. And that's exactly why you're perfect. Alexander turned to face her. You know the hotel better than any outside manager would. You know how every area works, you know the staff, you understand the guests, and most important, you truly care. Alyssa, in 2 days of observation, I saw you solve more problems than Gerald solved in months. I saw you calm angry guests, help new employees, and keep everything running while the official manager stayed in his office doing nothing. He smiled. You've been doing the manager's job for years. You just didn't have the title or the salary. And what if I ruin everything? It won't get ruined. But if you need help, I'll be there. I'll be staying in Manhattan for the next few months supervising the changes. You won't be alone. Alyssa bit her lip, thinking. How much is the salary? Alexander said the number. She choked. That's 4 times what I make now. It's the standard salary for a luxury hotel manager. Alexander, that's a lot. It's what you deserve. He held out his hand. So, do you accept? Alyssa looked at his hand, then at the small apartment around them, then back at him. There's one condition. What is it? No treating me differently just because I'm your friend. If I do something wrong, you correct me. No special privileges. My friend? Alexander smiled. Well, you spent 2 days defending me and just offered me the job of my dreams. I think that counts as friendship, doesn't it? Alyssa smiled back. It counts, and I agree with your condition. He kept his hand extended. Anything else? Just one more. I choose the decoration of my office. No interference. You can decorate it however you want. Even if I put a giant poster of cats? Even if you put 10 giant posters of cats? Alyssa finally shook his hand. Then I accept, officially. Alexander felt something strange in his chest, a mix of relief, happiness, and something else he couldn't identify. Great. You start Monday. Monday? But today is Tuesday. Exactly. You have the rest of the week off. Enjoy it, rest, and on Monday you take over the hotel with everything new. Uniforms, updated systems, motivated staff. He stood up. And Alyssa? Yes? Thank you for being yourself, for having courage, integrity, and not lowering your head to anyone. Alexander smiled. The hotel needs people like that. Alyssa stood too, wiping a tear that escaped. Hey, don't make me cry. I already cried enough today, biting ice cream. Sorry. He walked to the door, then turned around. Oh, and about me being in disguise. You're forgiven. It was strange, but I understand why you did it. Alyssa crossed her arms, smiling. Just don't do it again without telling me. I promise. When Alexander left the building, he was smiling like a fool. And when he looked up, he saw Alyssa in the apartment window, waving with the ice cream tub. He waved back and headed to the hotel, thinking that it had been the best business decision of his life. Even if his heart insisted, it wasn't just business. The next morning, Alexander arrived at the hotel at 7 sharp and found the lobby in pure, organized chaos. There were workers measuring walls, decorators discussing colors, and Thomas Green in the middle of everything, coordinating with a clipboard. Good morning, Mr. Hawthorne, Thomas waved. The new uniforms arrive tomorrow. The kitchen heater is being replaced right now, and I found 3 candidates for temporary manager until Monday. Great work, Tom. Alexander looked around. Where's the staff? Meeting room. I asked them to wait for you. Alexander entered the room and found 15 employees seated, visibly nervous. When they saw him, everyone jumped to their feet. Good morning, everyone. Please sit. He pulled a chair and sat with them. I know yesterday was intense. Gerald's firing, the rude lawyer being thrown out, my reveal as the disguised owner. He smiled. Did anyone think they were in a movie? The housekeeper who had spoken the day before laughed. I thought it was a prank, Mr. Hawthorne. It wasn't a prank, Helen. It was necessary. Alexander leaned forward. I'm here to officially thank all of you. This hotel was running despite bad management, and that was only possible because of your work. Are you really giving us a raise? The doorman asked. It's already approved, retroactive to this month. And it's not just salary. You'll get new uniforms, proper equipment, and most importantly, an active voice in hotel decisions. What do you mean? The cook asked. It means I want to hear suggestions, criticism, and ideas from everyone. You work here every day. You know what works and what doesn't. Alexander paused. And there's one more thing. On Monday, we'll have a new manager. Who? Several asked at the same time. Alyssa Page. Silence lasted 3 seconds. Then the room exploded in applause and cheers. Alyssa? Helen jumped from her chair. Really? Absolutely. She starts Monday as the official manager. Best news of the year, the doorman shouted. Everyone loves Alyssa, the substitute receptionist said, smiling. She always helps everyone. When my son had a fever last month, she covered my shift without thinking twice. When I messed up a guest's order, she took the blame to protect me from Gerald, Helen added. The stories continued. Alyssa helping, defending, teaching. Alexander listened to each one with a warm heart, confirming he had made the right decision. So, he finally said, Monday will be the hotel's new beginning. Alyssa will be in charge, and I'll be here giving support. Questions? Are you going to keep working here? The cook asked. For a few months, yes. I need to make sure the changes work. And what if another Howard Sterling shows up? Helen asked. Then I will personally escort him out. Alexander smiled. No one mistreats my staff. Not anymore. The employees left the meeting excited, talking among themselves. Alexander watched, satisfied. Thomas walked over. You've been smiling a lot lately. Have I? You have. And I have a theory about why. I don't want to hear your theories, Tom. It has to do with a certain brown-eyed receptionist with a sharp tongue. Alexander rolled his eyes. You're imagining things. Mr. Hawthorne, I've worked for you for 10 years. I have never seen you offer a manager position to someone without an MBA. I have never seen you spend days disguised as a janitor. And I definitely have never seen you run out of the hotel to a staff member's apartment. I went to offer her a job. Of course you did. Thomas smiled. And I'm a ballet dancer in my spare time. Before Alexander could respond, his phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Alexander Hawthorne? A female voice shouted on the other end. This is Linda Page, Alyssa's mother. Alexander nearly dropped the phone. Oh, hello, Mrs. Page. My daughter just called me crying, saying she became manager of a luxury hotel. Is that true, or is she having hallucinations? It's completely true, ma'am. And you are the billionaire who disguised himself as a janitor. Yes, ma'am. Do you have any idea my daughter spent the entire night without sleeping, thinking she was dreaming? She called me at 3 in the morning to confirm she was awake. Alexander couldn't hold back a laugh. I'm sorry, Mrs. Page. Don't be. You gave her the chance she deserved years ago. Linda's voice softened. Alyssa has worked hard since she was 16. She's always been a fighter, always helped everyone, and always got ignored by idiot bosses. You're the first one who saw her worth. She is exceptional, Mrs. Page. Any hotel would be lucky to have her. And you, young man, are lucky she agreed to work for you after that stunt of disguising yourself. Linda laughed. But I admit it was creative. My husband loved the story. Thank you. Now tell me something, Alexander. Can I call you Alexander? Of course. Do you like my daughter? Alexander choked. What do you mean? Don't play dumb. A man doesn't offer a manager position and a salary 4 times higher just for competence. Do you like her or not? Mrs. Page, Linda. Call me Linda. Linda. Alexander took a breath. Your daughter is amazing. Smart, brave, funny. She defended principles when she could have stayed quiet. She chose to do what was right even at risk. And yes, I admire her very much. Admire? Linda laughed. Dear, when you reach my age, you learn not to stall. You are in love with my daughter. I'm not. You are. And do you know how I know? Because my husband did the same thing 30 years ago. He offered me a job at his company just to be close to me. Linda sighed nostalgically. We got married 6 months later. Linda, I respect Alyssa a lot. I would never do anything inappropriate. I know you wouldn't. If I thought you were one of those disgusting men who abuse their position, I would already be there with a frying pan. She paused. But I also know how to recognize when someone is truly good. You fired an incompetent manager, removed an abusive lawyer, and gave chances to forgotten employees. That says a lot about your character. Alexander didn't know what to say. Just one thing, Linda continued, her voice serious now. My daughter has been through a lot. She's had bad bosses, worse boyfriends, and always had to be strong by herself. If you really like her, be honest. Don't make her wait. Don't play with her feelings. Understand? I understand perfectly, Linda. Great. Now I have to go. I have a cake in the oven. But Alexander? Yes? Welcome to the family. Not officially yet, but a mother knows these things. And she hung up. Alexander stared at the phone in shock. Thomas was laughing so hard he had to sit down. Don't say anything, Alexander warned. I don't have to say anything. Her mother said it all. Thomas wiped a tear from laughing so much. Welcome to the family. Tom, so when's the wedding? Can I be the best man? Alexander threw a napkin at him and walked out of the room, but he was smiling. Linda Page was right about one thing. He really needed to be honest about his feelings. But first, he needed to understand those feelings, and finding out if Alyssa felt the same. The next morning, Alexander was in the office that had belonged to Gerald, now completely reorganized, when his phone rang. It was Alyssa. Hello? Alexander Hawthorne, she yelled. Did my mother call you yesterday? Ah, yes, she did. And what exactly did she say? That she was happy about your promotion. Lie. My mother doesn't call just to say she's happy. She calls to investigate, interrogate, and basically act like a private detective. Alyssa sighed. What did she ask? Nothing important, Alexander. She asked if I liked you. Silence on the other end. Alyssa? I'm going to kill my mother, slowly, with a lot of planning. Alexander laughed. She was just being protective. Protective? She was being embarrassing, Alyssa groaned. I'm sorry, my mother is intense. She's great, funny, direct, and clearly loves you very much. Yes, I love her too, even when she makes me want to move to Alaska. Alyssa paused. And did you answer her question? Alexander swallowed. I said I admire you a lot. Admire? It's a valid word. It's a word politicians use when they don't want to give a direct answer. She laughed. But it's fine. You don't need to answer anything. It was my mother being nosy, not me asking. Alyssa? Changing the subject. I'm nervous for Monday. I spent the whole night reading articles about hotel management. Did you know there's a specific technique for folding bath towels? You're going to do perfectly. Easy for you to say. You're not the one who's going to manage 15 people in an entire hotel. She took a deep breath. What if I ruin everything? You won't ruin anything. I've known you for only a few days, but I know you're capable. A few days, Alyssa repeated. It's strange, isn't it? It feels like I've known you longer. I feel that too. Well, she said, her voice softer now, I'll see you Monday then. And Alexander? Yes? Thank you. For everything. For believing in me. Always. When she hung up, Alexander stayed looking at his phone, smiling like a teenager. Thomas walked into the office with coffee. Were you talking to her? How do you know? Because you have that lovesick face again. Thomas put the coffee on the table. Mr. Hawthorne, may I give you some advice? You're going to give it even if I say no. Exactly. Stop delaying things and invite the girl to dinner. She's going to be my manager on Monday. That would be inappropriate. It would be inappropriate if you were one of those terrible bosses who abuse their power. But you're not. You really like her. And from what it seems, she likes you too. You don't know that? She called you at 9 in the morning on a Saturday to complain about her mother. That's basically a love declaration in female language. Alexander threw a paperclip at him. The weekend went by slowly. Alexander supervised renovations, interviewed candidates for new positions, and tried not to think about Alyssa every 5 minutes. He failed miserably. Monday arrived sunny and cold. Alexander was in the lobby at 6 in the morning when Alyssa walked in at 6:15. She wore a gray suit, her hair in a professional bun, and carried a new folder. She looked confident, competent, and absolutely beautiful. Good morning, boss, she said, smiling. Good morning, manager, Alexander smiled back. Ready? Ready? No. Terrified? Absolutely. Am I going to do it anyway? Definitely. At 7, the employees started arriving. Everyone greeted Alyssa with hugs, applause, and words of encouragement. You've got this, Alyssa. Best manager ever. Finally, someone competent in charge. Alyssa was visibly moved. Thank you, everyone. I promise I won't let you down. Impossible, Helen said. You're already amazing. At 8, Alyssa held her first meeting as manager. Alexander watched from the back of the room, impressed. She was natural, funny, and clear. She explained the new policies, listened to suggestions, and created an environment where everyone felt comfortable speaking. And remember, she said at the end, my door is always open. Literally. I'm going to leave the office door open all the time except during confidential meetings. You can come in and talk whenever you need to. Even to complain about you, the doorman joked. Especially to complain about me. I can make mistakes, and when I do, I want you to tell me. Alyssa smiled. We're a team, and teams help each other. The meeting ended with applause. When everyone left, Alyssa collapsed into the chair. I survived. You were perfect, Alexander said. I thought I was going to throw up from nerves 3 times. You didn't seem nervous at all. That's because I'm a good actress. She spun in the chair. This office is strange. It still smells like Gerald's bad cologne. I'll have an air freshener installed. And can I really put cat posters up? I promised you could. Great, because I already ordered 5 of them. She opened the desk drawer. Look at this. Gerald left things here. There's a... Wait, is this a picture of him posing like a model? Alexander looked. That was exactly what it was. Gerald in a dramatic pose with a filter that softened the wrinkles. Alyssa burst out laughing. He took selfies in the office during work hours. That explains a lot. Can I frame this and put it on the wall as an example of what not to do? Alyssa, I'm kidding. I'm throwing it away. She tossed the photo into the trash. Next drawer. Pens. Lots of pens. Was Gerald preparing for a pen war or was he a collector? He probably stole them from the supply room. Makes sense. She kept searching. Oh look, a hotel management manual. still wrapped in plastic. He never read this. Alexander was laughing so hard he had to sit down. I found something else. Alyssa held up a notebook. His diary? Let's see. Today Alyssa questioned my decision again. She is annoying, but guests love her. I need to find a way to. She stopped reading, her expression changing. What is it? He was planning to fire me, for months. Alyssa showed the notebook. I need to find a way to fire her without causing revolt among the staff. Alexander felt anger rise. What a coward. Yeah. Alyssa closed the notebook and threw it into the trash too. But he failed. And now I have his job. Karma is beautiful. You deserve this position much more than he ever did. Thank you. She smiled, but Alexander noticed her eyes shining. You know, I spent 3 years working hard, being ignored, and wondering if I would ever be recognized. And then you showed up dressed as a janitor and changed everything. You're the one who changed everything, Alyssa. I only gave you the opportunity you already deserved. They looked at each other for a moment. Alexander felt something tighten in his chest. The urge to hug her, to tell her she was amazing, that he... The phone on the desk rang, breaking the moment. Front desk calling, Alyssa answered, slipping back into professional mode. You can send them up. She hung up. Flower supplier bringing the new lobby decorations. I'll go meet them. Do you need help? No, I got it, but thank you. She stopped at the door. Alexander? Yes. I'm glad you disguised yourself as a janitor. Otherwise, I never would have met the real you. And she walked out, leaving Alexander with a foolish smile on his face. Thomas appeared at the door seconds later. Still think it would be inappropriate to invite her to dinner? Shut up, Tom. But Alexander was already thinking about the perfect restaurant. 2 weeks later, the hotel looked completely different. New uniforms, modern equipment, and most importantly, happy employees. Alyssa had implemented weekly meetings, a suggestion box, and even created an Employee of the Month award with a free dinner as the prize. Online ratings jumped from 3 to 4.5 stars. Alexander watched everything from the office next door, proud and more in love every day. Problem? He still didn't have the courage to ask Alyssa out to dinner. Pathetic, Thomas said for the 10th time that week. You close million-dollar contracts, negotiate with international investors, but you can't invite a woman to dinner? It's different. How? In business, I know what to do. With Alyssa. Alexander sighed. I don't want to ruin anything. You're going to ruin it by doing nothing. Women like initiative. How would you know? You've been married 15 years. That's exactly why I know. I learned the hard way. Thomas smiled. Ask her today what could go wrong. Everything, Alexander thought. But before he could answer, Alyssa entered the office like a storm. Alexander! Emergency! He jumped up. What happened? We have an important guest arriving in 2 hours and his room has a leak. Which room? The presidential suite. Apparently a pipe burst. There's water everywhere. Alyssa was gesturing wildly. And the guest is Benjamin Fletcher, the luxury hotel critic. If he writes a bad review, we're done. Alexander was already grabbing the phone. I'll call the emergency plumber. I already called. He said it will take 4 hours to get here. Then we prepare another suite. We don't have another suite available. Everything is booked. Alyssa was pacing back and forth. We're going to have to cancel Fletcher's reservation and he's going to write that we're incompetent and... Alyssa. Alexander held her shoulders. Breathe. We'll fix this. She took a deep breath. How? First, let's see the damage. Then we improvise. They ran upstairs to the presidential suite. The scene was chaotic. Water running from the bathroom, soaked carpet, and 2 maintenance workers trying to contain the leak with buckets. How long to fix this? Alexander asked. We need to replace the entire pipe, Mr. Hawthorne. At least 6 hours. Alyssa groaned. We're doomed. Alexander thought fast. We need to give Fletcher an upgrade. Upgrade to where? We don't have any rooms better than this one. Yes, we do. Alexander smiled. My private suite on the top floor. Alyssa blinked. You're what? I have a private suite on the 20th floor. I use it when I work late. It's bigger than the presidential and has a panoramic view of Manhattan. And you're going to host a hotel critic in your personal suite? Why not? It's better than canceling his reservation. Because it's your suite. Your things are in there. Then let's take my things out. Alexander was already heading out. Come on, we need half an hour to make everything perfect. They ran to the 20th floor. Alexander's suite was spectacular. Huge living room, spacious bedroom, marble bathroom with a whirlpool tub and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "Wow," Alyssa murmured. "This is amazing. Can you help me grab my clothes from the closet while I put away the documents?" "Your clothes?" Alyssa turned red. "I'm going to go through your clothes?" "Unless you have X-ray vision and can fold things with your mind, yes." Alexander smiled. "Please? We don't have time for embarrassment." Alyssa walked into the closet and stopped. "Alexander Hawthorne, you have more clothes than a department store." "Exaggeration?" "There are 15 suits here." 15. I need variety. "And these shoes, you have 30 pairs. Some are for special occasions." "Special occasion for brown shoes?" She walked out holding a pile of clothes. Men. They worked quickly. Alexander stored documents and personal items in boxes. Alyssa packed the clothes into suitcases, and together they reorganized the suite so it looked like a regular hotel room. Well, not regular. Luxurious, but impersonal. Done. Alyssa looked around. It looks like a hotel room. A very expensive hotel room, but still a hotel room. "Great, now we need to." Her phone rang. "Hello? Already?" She covered the phone. "Fletcher arrived early. He's in the lobby right now. Go down and keep him busy. Make up any excuse. I'll finish here." Alyssa ran out. Alexander heard her heels hitting the hallway and laughed. That woman was incredible, even in a crisis. 10 minutes later, he went down to the lobby. Alyssa was talking cheerfully to a thin man with glasses, who looked like he sucked on lemons for breakfast. "Mr. Fletcher." Alexander approached with his hand extended. "Alexander Hawthorne, owner of the hotel. Welcome." Fletcher shook his hand with surprising strength. "Mr. Hawthorne, I've heard about the recent changes in the hotel. I'm looking forward to evaluating." "We have a surprise for you." Alexander smiled. "There was a small issue with the presidential suite, so we upgraded you to an even better one. Our special suite on the 20th floor." "Special suite?" Fletcher raised an eyebrow. "We usually don't offer this suite to guests. It's reserved for special occasions, but for a critic as respected as you, we make an exception." Alyssa was looking at Alexander with a mix of admiration and disbelief. Fletcher seemed impressed. "Interesting. Let's see this suite then." They went up. When Fletcher entered the suite, his eyes widened. "This is extraordinary." He walked to the window. "The view is spectacular." "I agree," Alexander said, "and all hotel services are at your disposal. If you need anything, our manager Alyssa Page is available 24 hours. 24 hours? Alyssa whispered. "That's your job." Alexander whispered back. Fletcher tested the bed, checked the bathroom, opened every drawer. Finally, he turned to them. "Impressive. Truly impressive. I usually find problems in every hotel I visit, but this," he smiled. Actually smiled. "This is flawless." "Thank you, Mr. Fletcher," Alyssa said. "If you need anything, just call the front desk." "I will. I'll need paper and a pen. I must start writing my review immediately." Fletcher sat in the armchair, 5 stars without a doubt. When they left the suite, Alyssa and Alexander stepped into the elevator and burst into laughter. "We did it!" Alyssa jumped. "He loved it. You did it. You were the one who came to find me right away. It was your idea to offer your personal suite." She stopped jumping and looked at him. "Really, Alexander? You gave up your privacy for the hotel. That was incredible." "I did it for the hotel, and for my talented manager who deserved a win." They were standing very close. Alexander could see Alyssa's honey-colored eyes shining. He felt the urge to... The elevator opened in the lobby. "Well," Alyssa said, stepping out quickly, "I need to get back to work. Thanks for the help." "Alyssa?" "Yes." Alexander took a deep breath. It was now or never. "Would you like to have dinner with me tonight?" She blinked. "Dinner?" "Yes, at a restaurant. Food, conversation, no hotel emergencies." He smiled nervously. "What do you think?" Alyssa opened a huge smile. "I thought you'd never ask." "Is that a yes?" "That's definitely a yes." She started walking backward toward the office. "Pick me up at 7? "At 7. "It's a date then," and she stepped inside the office, closing the door. Alexander stayed there, in the middle of the lobby, with a silly smile on his face. Thomas appeared out of nowhere. Finally. Now don't ruin it." "I'll try." But Alexander already knew that this would be the most important night of his life. Alexander spent the rest of the day completely useless. He checked his phone 17 times, changed clothes 4 times, and almost canceled the dinner twice out of pure nervousness. "You're acting like a teenager." Tana said at 6:30. "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are. And this is the 5th tie you try on." Alexander looked at the mirror. Dark blue suit, white shirt, gray tie. "Too formal? Maybe I should go more casual." "No, it's perfect." Tana straightened the tie. "Relax, it's just dinner. With the most amazing woman I've ever met." "Exactly. So be yourself, be honest, and for heaven's sake, don't talk about work the entire time." At 7 sharp, Alexander stopped in front of Alyssa's building. He took a deep breath and walked up the stairs. He knocked on the door. "Just a second." The door opened, and Alexander forgot how to breathe. Alyssa was wearing a simple but elegant emerald green dress, her hair loose in soft waves and light makeup that highlighted her eyes. She looked beautiful. "Hi," she said, smiling nervously. "Do I look okay?" I didn't know if it was formal or casual, so I chose something in the middle. "You look perfect." "Really?" "Because I changed clothes like 6 times and almost called to cancel 3 times. Alexander laughed. "Me too." "Really?" Alyssa grabbed her purse. That makes me feel better. I thought I was the only one nervous." "I'm terrified." "The billionaire hotel owner is terrified about a dinner? With you, yes?" Alyssa smiled and held his arm. "Then we're even. Shall we go?" The restaurant was small, Italian, and charming. Alexander had reserved a table in the corner, away from curious eyes. "This place is beautiful," Alyssa said, looking around. "How did you find it?" "I've been coming here since I moved to New York. It's quiet, the food is excellent, and the owner is a great guy." An elderly man with a mustache appeared, smiling. "Alexander, it's been so long." "Hi, Giuseppe. This is Alyssa." "Alyssa." Giuseppe kissed her hand dramatically. "Bellissima. Alexander finally brings a beautiful woman here. He always comes alone, sad, eating pasta and working." "Giuseppe?" Alexander turned red. "It's true. I always say, 'Young man, you need to date,' and he always answers, 'I'm busy.'" Giuseppe winked at Alyssa. "But now I see he was waiting for the right person." Alyssa was trying not to laugh. "Thank you, Giuseppe. I will bring the best wine in the house and fresh pasta. You will love it." He left almost dancing. "He is enthusiastic," Alexander said. "He's adorable." Alyssa rested her chin on her hand. "So you came here alone and sad eating pasta?" "I wasn't sad. Giuseppe said you were." "Giuseppe exaggerates. Or you're terrible at hiding emotions." She smiled. "Admit it, you were a lonely billionaire eating pasta and working too much." "Maybe a little." "And now?" "Now I'm having dinner with the funniest, bravest, and most amazing woman I've ever met." Alexander held her hand on the table. "And I'm not lonely at all." Alyssa turned red. "You're very good with words, you know. I'm just being honest." Giuseppe returned with wine and appetizers. "House bruschetta. Eat, eat." The conversation flowed naturally. They talked about everything. Childhood, family, dreams, fears. Alyssa told hilarious stories about crazy hotel guests. Alexander confessed he had been afraid of clowns since he was a child. "Clowns?" Alyssa almost spit out the wine. "Really? I went to a birthday party when I was 5. The clown had a scary mask and kept chasing me. I'm traumatized to this day." Alexander Hawthorne, powerful billionaire, is afraid of clowns. She was laughing so hard she had tears in her eyes. "This is pure gold. Don't tell anyone." "I'm telling everyone." She wiped her tears. "Oh wait, I have a confession too." "What is it?" "I'm afraid of elevators." Alexander blinked. "But you work in a 20-story hotel." "I know. That's why I always take the stairs." Alyssa made a face. "When I was a kid, I got stuck in an elevator for 2 hours. Since then, I only use one if it's absolutely necessary." "That's why you were always out of breath in the morning." 3 flights of stairs in high heels is no joke." She took a sip of wine. "But now I have an office on the ground floor, so problem solved. I planned this on purpose." "Planned it?" "Yes. Helen told me about your fear of elevators, so I put your office on the ground floor." Alyssa stared at him. "You did that for me?" "I wanted you to feel comfortable." "Alexander Hawthorne, you are a good man." "Keep that quiet. I have a tough billionaire reputation to maintain." They laughed together, and Alexander felt something settle in his chest. As if he had found something he didn't even know he was looking for. The food arrived. Carbonara for him, pesto for her. They ate while talking, laughing, and sharing stories. "Can I ask a personal question?" Alyssa said, twirling the spaghetti on her fork. "Of course." Why did you really disguise yourself as a janitor? I know you said it was to find problems, but was there another reason? Alexander paused. Honestly, always. I was tired. He set his fork on the table. Tired of fake meetings, of people agreeing with everything I say just because I'm the boss, of living in a bubble where no one treats me like a normal person. I wanted to know what it felt like to be just Alex. Not the billionaire, not the CEO, just an ordinary person. And did you find out? I found out that being ordinary is much better than I thought. I found out real conversations are worth more than million-dollar contracts, and I found you. Alyssa was gripping her napkin tightly. Stop it. Stop what? Being perfect. You're making my plan to keep professional distance very difficult. Alexander smiled. And what if I don't want you to keep distance? Then we have a problem, she smiled back. Because I don't want to either. They finished dinner with laughter and long looks. Giuseppe brought complimentary tiramisu, winking dramatically. When they left the restaurant, it was almost midnight. Manhattan was glowing, the streets busy, the October air cool. Thank you for dinner, Alyssa said. It was perfect. Thank you for coming. Alexander offered his arm. May I walk you home? You may. They walked slowly through the streets, unhurried. Alexander didn't want the night to end. You know, Alyssa said, when I woke up that Tuesday and arrived late at the hotel, I never imagined my life would change completely. For the better? For much better. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I met my boss in disguise, stood up to a rude lawyer, became a manager, and now I'm having dinner with a billionaire who is afraid of clowns. When you put it like that, it sounds like a movie script. It really does. She stopped in front of her building. But it's real life, my real life, and it's been amazing. Alexander held her hands. Alyssa, I know I'm technically your boss, and I know that complicates things, but... Kiss me already, Alexander, he blinked. What? We've been standing here for 10 minutes hesitating. You want to kiss me? I want to kiss you, so stop hesitating and do it. Alexander laughed and pulled her close. You're impossible. I know. Alyssa smiled. Now kiss. And he did. It was a soft, sweet, perfect kiss. The kind of kiss that makes the world stop and the heart race at the same time. When they pulled away, they were both smiling like fools. Wow, Alyssa whispered. Wow, Alexander agreed. So, does this mean we're dating? If you want to. I definitely do. She kissed him again quickly. But tomorrow I'm still your manager. And I'm still your boss. That's gonna be weird. Totally weird. Alexander smiled. But it will be worth it. I agree. Alyssa went up one step. Good night, Alexander. Good night, Alyssa. She walked inside waving. Alexander stayed until he saw the light turn on in her apartment. Then he walked through the Manhattan streets, smiling, happy, and completely in love. The next morning, Alexander arrived at the hotel at 6:15, not because he needed to, but because he wanted to see Alyssa. She arrived at 6:20, and when their eyes met, they both smiled like teenagers in love. Good morning, Mr. Hawthorne, she said formally, but with a sparkle in her eyes. Good morning, Miss Page. He held back the urge to kiss her right there. Did you sleep well? I slept great. I dreamed about clowns chasing you. Very funny. I thought so. She walked past him toward the office. Team meeting in 15 minutes. Don't be late, boss. Keeping things professional at work was harder than they expected. Alexander found excuses to walk past Alyssa's office. Alyssa made up reasons to ask for his approval on things that didn't even need approval. Thomas watched everything with an irritating smile. You two are terrible at pretending, he said the fourth time Alexander coincidentally passed the front desk. We're not pretending anything. You've walked by 3 times in half an hour, once to ask about towels, once about the breakfast menu, and now about, what was the excuse again? I forgot. Exactly, Thomas laughed. Just admit the relationship to the employees. We can't. It will look like favoritism. Mr. Hawthorne, everyone already knows. Alexander blinked. What do you mean everyone knows? Helen saw you two looking at each other in a suspicious way yesterday. The doorman said you are smiling too much, and the substitute receptionist said Alyssa has been humming all day. Thomas crossed his arms. No one hums unless they're in love. That's ridiculous. It's the truth. Before Alexander could respond, Alyssa ran out of the office. Alexander, problem. What happened? Remember Benjamin Fletcher, the critic? Yes. He wrote the review, and it was published now. Alyssa showed the phone. Word. Alexander read it. 5 stars. Praise about the view, the service, the kindness of the staff. And at the end, the Hawthorne Hotel Manhattan is not just a luxury hotel. It is a hotel where you feel that you truly matter. Manager Alyssa Page is exceptional, and owner Alexander Hawthorne clearly invests in people, not just marble. Highly recommended. This is amazing. Alexander hugged Alyssa without thinking. She hugged him back, laughing. We did it! 5 stars from the strictest critic in New York. You two are dating! Helen shouted from the other side of the lobby. Alexander and Alyssa pulled apart quickly. All the employees were watching, some smiling, others trying not to laugh. We, Alyssa began. Yes, Alexander said. We are dating. The lobby exploded in applause and cheers. Finally, Helen jumped. I knew it. I told everyone you two were in love. Everyone saw it except you two, the doorman laughed. How long have you been together? The substitute receptionist asked. Since last night, Alyssa admitted. But we will keep professionalism at work. Of course, Helen said with a huge smile. Totally professional. That's why you walked by here 3 times today for no reason, Mr. Hawthorne. Alexander turned red. I had reasons. Yes, you did. Reason number 1, see Alyssa. Reason number 2, see Alyssa. Reason number 3. We get it, Alyssa interrupted, laughing. Now get back to work. We have a hotel to run. The employees went back to their tasks, but the atmosphere was light and happy. Thomas walked up to Alexander. See? You just had to admit it. Shut up, Tom. Never. The following weeks were perfect. The hotel thrived, the reviews kept going up, and Alexander and Alyssa balanced work and romance with surprising success. They had dinner together 3 times a week, always in different restaurants, discovering Manhattan's cuisine. Giuseppe already treated them like family. Then, on a November afternoon, everything changed. Alexander was in the office when he received a call from the director of the hotel chain. Mr. Hawthorne, we have an offer. What kind of offer? A European company wants to buy our chain. The offer is absurdly generous. We are talking billions. Alexander felt his stomach drop. And the board wants you to seriously consider it. This would mean selling all the hotels, including the one in Manhattan. I'm not interested. Mr. Hawthorne, it's a fortune. You could retire, travel the world, never work again. I said, I'm not interested. Alexander hung up, but the call left him thoughtful. And when he got home that night, he found a registered letter waiting. It was from the European company, detailing the offer. Impressive numbers, huge advantages. And one condition: if he accepted, he would have to move to Paris to supervise the transition. For at least 2 years. Paris, far from New York, far from the hotel, far from Alyssa. Alexander crumpled the letter and threw it in the trash. But the next morning, he got a call from the chairman of the board. Alexander, we need to talk in person. It's about the offer. I already said no, and I need you to reconsider. The board is divided, but most want to accept. You are the majority shareholder, so the final decision is yours. But think carefully. It's a lot of money. Alexander hung up and rubbed his face. He was tired of all that. When he arrived at the hotel, Alyssa noticed immediately that something was wrong. Hey, are you okay? Yes, just work. Lie. You have that worried face. She closed the office door. What happened? Alexander told her everything. The offer, the board, the pressure to sell. Alyssa turned pale. Are you going to sell? No, but the board doesn't command me. I'm the majority shareholder. Alexander held her hands. I'm not going to sell the hotels. I'm not going to move to Paris. I'm not going to leave you. Alexander, we're talking about billions. We're talking about my life, and my life is here. With you, with this hotel, with the people I love. He pulled her close. No amount of money is worth that. Alyssa had tears in her eyes. Are you sure? Absolutely. And what if you regret it? Impossible. He kissed her forehead. I already have everything I need. That afternoon, Alexander called the board and officially refused the offer. There were protests, complaints, and threats of resignation. He didn't care. 3 board members resigned. Alexander replaced them with people who understood that business wasn't only about money. Thomas was promoted to executive vice president. And the Manhattan Hotel? It grew even stronger. Benjamin Fletcher returned 2 months later, this time bringing journalists from international travel magazines. All of them wrote glowing reviews. The hotel started appearing on lists of best hotels in New York. Reservations tripled. And Alyssa? She was still the best manager the hotel ever had. On a Friday in December, Alexander was in his office when Alyssa walked in with a box. "What's that?" he asked. "A gift." "It's not my birthday." "I know, but I found this and thought of you." She handed him the box. Alexander opened it. Inside was a framed photo. It was him, dressed as a janitor, scrubbing the lobby floor. Alyssa must have taken it without him noticing. "So you never forget where it all started," she said, smiling. "The day a billionaire dressed up as a janitor and met a stubborn receptionist." Alexander looked at the photo, then at Alyssa, and smiled. "Best decision I ever made." "I agree." She sat on his lap. "And you know what's funny?" "What?" "You came here looking for problems in the hotel, and you ended up finding a girlfriend. Better than finding problems." "Definitely." Alyssa kissed him. "Now come on, Giuseppe is waiting for us for dinner, and you know how he gets when we're late." Alexander stood up, holding her hand. "Let's go." And as they walked out of the hotel together, he looked back one last time. That place had changed his life, and he wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. 6 months passed like a dream. The hotel was constantly full, the staff motivated, and Alexander had never been happier. He and Alyssa lived together now. They had moved into a bigger apartment in downtown Manhattan with a view of Central Park and enough space for the 15 cat posters Alyssa insisted on hanging. "It's modern decor," she argued every time Alexander complained. "It's an excess of felines," he replied. But secretly, he loved it, just like he loved everything about her. One June morning, Alexander woke up before Alyssa. He looked at her sleeping, her hair messy on the pillow, and made a decision. It was time. He got up quietly, grabbed his phone, and called Thomas. "Mr. Hawthorne, it's 6 in the morning. I need you at the office. Urgent." "Did something happen?" "Yes, I'm going to ask Alyssa to marry me." There was a pause. Then Thomas screamed so loudly that Alexander had to pull the phone away from his ear. "Finally, about time." "When?" "I don't know yet. That's why I need help planning." "I'm on my way." 1 hour later, Alexander was at the hotel with Thomas and Giuseppe, who had been called in to help with the planning. "It needs to be romantic." Giuseppe gestured dramatically. "Flowers, candles, music." "It needs to be at the hotel," Thomas said. "It's where you two met." "It needs to be a surprise," Alexander added. "Alyssa hates obvious things." They planned for 3 hours. And finally, they had the perfect plan. Over the next 2 weeks, Alexander worked secretly with the entire hotel staff. Helen coordinated the flowers. The doorman arranged the lights. Giuseppe would prepare a special dinner. And Alexander? He bought a ring. A simple but elegant diamond ring, exactly Alyssa's style. The chosen day was June 20th, exactly 6 months since their first kiss. On the morning of the day, Alyssa woke up as usual, not suspecting a thing. "Good morning, love," she kissed Alexander. "Today we have that hotel safety inspection, remember?" "I remember." He had invented a fake inspection to keep her busy during the preparations. "I hate inspections. They're boring and take forever. But necessary." "I know," she sighed. "See you later?" "Of course." Alyssa left for work. Alexander waited 10 minutes and ran to the hotel. "Everyone start." The lobby transformed, flowers everywhere, soft lights, a table set up in the center with candles and elegant decor. "It's perfect." Helen clapped. "She's gonna cry," the doorman said, emotional. "She's gonna cry? I'm already crying." Giuseppe wiped his eyes. True love, just like in the movies. By 6 in the evening, everything was ready. Alexander put on his best suit, checked the ring in his pocket for the 10th time, and took a deep breath. Thomas appeared. "Alyssa is coming back from the fake inspection. She'll be here in 5 minutes." "I'm nervous." "You closed million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, but you're nervous about asking a woman to marry you?" "This is different, Tom. This is the most important thing I'll ever do." Thomas smiled. "Then do it right." Alyssa walked into the lobby complaining. "What a ridiculous inspection. 3 hours looking at fire extinguishers and wait." She stopped, looked around, the flowers, the lights, the decorated table. What is happening?" All the employees were standing around the lobby, smiling. "Alexander?" Alyssa called. He stepped out from behind a column of flowers. "Hi. What is all this?" "This," he walked toward her, "is a surprise." "A surprise for what?" "It's not my birthday." "It's not." Alexander took her hand. "But it is an important date anyway. 6 months since our first kiss." Alyssa blushed. "You remember?" "I remember every detail." How you told me to stop stalling and kiss you already. He smiled. How your hair was down, how you smelled like flowers, how my heart almost exploded. Alexander? Tears began to fill her eyes. 6 months ago, I was here disguised as a janitor, thinking I was only coming to find out what was wrong with the hotel. He guided her to the center of the lobby. But I found much more. I found a courageous woman who defended employees. I found someone who bought balloons with her own money to make elderly guests happy. I found the funniest, smartest, most incredible person I've ever met. Stop it. Alyssa was crying openly now. You're going to make me cry in front of everyone. Let me finish. Alexander knelt down. Alyssa brought her hand to her mouth. Oh my goodness. Alyssa Page, you changed my life completely. Before you, I was just a lonely billionaire eating pasta at Giuseppe's and working too much. Now I'm a happy man who still eats pasta at Giuseppe's, but with the best company in the world. He took a small box from his pocket. Marry me? The entire lobby was silent. Alyssa looked at the ring, then at Alexander, then at the employees watching with shining eyes. Do you realize I look like a mess? She said, laughing and crying at the same time. My hair is terrible, my makeup is smudged, and you choose now to propose? I chose the perfect moment, because you're always beautiful. You're lying, but fine. She wiped her tears. And yes, you ridiculously romantic man, I'll marry you. Alexander placed the ring on her finger and pulled her into a kiss. The lobby burst into applause, cheers, and emotional crying. Giuseppe was sobbing. Bellissimo, more beautiful than a TV drama. Helen hugged the doorman. They're getting married, they're getting married. Thomas discreetly wiped his eyes. When the kiss ended, Alyssa looked at the ring. It's perfect. How did you know exactly my style? Because I pay attention to you. Oh, stop. She hugged him tightly. Thank you for everything, for finding me, for believing in me, for loving me. Thank you for telling me to kiss you that night. Alyssa laughed. You were stalling too much. I was nervous. And now? Now I'm happy. Alexander spun her around. The most incredible woman in the world agreed to marry me. She agreed because you're persistent, and because you're afraid of clowns, which makes you human. I will never forget that you told Giuseppe that. He needed to know. Imagine if he hired a clown for our wedding party? There will be no clown. Alexander and Giuseppe shouted together. Everyone laughed. The evening continued with dinner prepared by Giuseppe, wine, funny stories, and a lot of emotion. The employees took turns telling how they knew from the beginning that Alexander and Alyssa would end up together. When you defended her in front of Gerald, Helen said, I thought, this man is in love. When you offered your suite to the critic, the doorman added, I thought, this guy will do anything for her. When you two kept looking at each other like fools, the substitute receptionist finished, everyone thought, just get married already. Alyssa was laughing so hard she was crying again. Were we that obvious? Completely, everyone answered in unison. At midnight, when the hotel finally quieted down, Alexander and Alyssa stayed alone in the lobby. So, she said, holding him, we're getting married. We are. It's going to be strange. Why? Because I'll go from hotel manager to the owner's wife. She looked at him. People will talk. Let them talk. We know the truth. What truth? That you earned this position on merit, that you're the best manager this hotel ever had, and that by chance the owner fell hopelessly in love with you. Alyssa smiled. Hopelessly? Completely, irrevocably, eternally. You really are good with words. I learned from the best. Alexander kissed her forehead. Ready to marry a former janitor? Completely ready. Alyssa laughed. Ready to marry a stubborn ex-receptionist? I couldn't be more ready. And there in the same lobby where they first met, surrounded by flowers and candlelight, they stayed in each other's arms planning the future, a future together. Forever. 3 months later, on a sunny September morning, the Hawthorne Hotel Manhattan was in pure, happy chaos. White flowers everywhere, chairs decorated in the interior garden, and a team of employees running around to make sure everything was perfect. It was the wedding day. Alexander was in Gerald's old office, now turned into a waiting room, trying to calm his nerves. Stop messing with the tie, Thomas said for the 5th time. It's perfect. What if she changes her mind? She won't change her mind. What if I trip at the altar? There's no altar. It's a garden. Then I'll trip in the garden. Alexander was pacing back and forth. Why am I so nervous? Because you're about to marry the woman of your life. Thomas straightened his suit. It's normal to be nervous. Were you nervous at your wedding? I was so nervous I threw up on the best man's shoe. Alexander stopped walking. That doesn't help. But it's true. Thomas smiled. And you know what happened after that? I had the 15 best years of my life. So breathe, relax, and enjoy the day. On the other side of the hotel, Alyssa was in what used to be the presidential suite, surrounded by Helen and her mother Linda. Stop touching your hair! Helen pulled Alyssa's hand away for the third time. It's crooked. No, it's not. It's perfect. Linda held her daughter's face. You look beautiful, sweetheart. Alyssa looked at the mirror. The dress was simple but elegant, white with lace details, exactly like she wanted. Hair pulled back in a soft bun with white flowers. Do I look like myself? She asked. You look like you, Helen confirmed. Just the radiant bride version. I thought I would be more nervous. Are you nervous? Linda asked. No, I'm happy. Just happy. Alyssa smiled. It's strange, right? I should be panicking, but all I can think about is how I'm going to laugh when Alexander trips walking into the garden. He's going to trip? Helen laughed. Probably. He's been so nervous since yesterday. Alyssa checked the bouquet. I, on the other hand, am super calm. There was a knock on the door. Giuseppe walked in with a tray. I brought water for the bride. Giuseppe, you should be outside with the guests. I know, but I had to see the bride first. He started crying. Bellissima, so beautiful. Alexander is a lucky man. He knows. Alyssa hugged the Italian. Thank you for everything, Giuseppe, for making our dinner special, for supporting us, for being our friend. It is my joy. You are like children to me. Giuseppe wiped his eyes. Now I'll leave before I ruin the makeup. See you in the garden. When he left, Linda stepped closer to her daughter. Ready? More than ever. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 in the afternoon. At 3:50, the guests were seated, about 50 people. Hotel employees, close friends, family. The Johnson couple were in the first row, emotional. Benjamin Fletcher had come especially from Boston, and surprise of surprises, Gerald had sent a card wishing them happiness. From his unemployment, probably. At 4 o'clock sharp, the music began. Alexander walked into the garden with Thomas. He managed to get there without tripping, to Alyssa's disappointment, as she watched from hiding. Then it was her turn. The garden doors opened. Alyssa appeared, walking with her father, and Alexander forgot how to breathe. She was absolutely stunning. She walked with confidence, smiling, waving to the guests as if it were a runway show. Only she could turn a wedding into a show, Thomas whispered, smiling. When Alyssa reached the improvised altar, her father kissed her forehead and went to sit. She stood facing Alexander. Hi, she whispered. Hi, you look beautiful. You too, and you didn't trip? Not yet, the officiant began. We are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Alexander Hawthorne and Alyssa Page, two people who met in a very unusual way. Laughter among the guests. Alexander, would you like to say your vows? Alexander took a deep breath. Alyssa, when I walked into this hotel disguised as a janitor, I was looking for problems. But I found you, and you weren't a problem. You were a solution to my loneliness, to my life without meaning, to everything that was missing without me knowing. He held her hands. You taught me that courage isn't about having no fear. It's about being afraid and doing it anyway. You showed me that true love has nothing to do with money or status. It's about waking up next to the right person and thinking, today will be a good day just because she's here. His voice broke. I promise to love you always, on good days and bad. When you're humming happily or complaining about Gerald, well, ex-Gerald, I promise to be your partner, your friend, your love, forever. Alyssa was crying. You made me cry in front of everyone again. Laughter. Now it's my turn. She wiped her eyes. Alexander, when you walked into that lobby dressed as a janitor, I thought, another temp who will quit in a week. But you didn't quit. You stayed. You defended me. You saw me when no one else did. She smiled through her tears. You could have anyone in the world. People more elegant, more refined, who don't call a manager a banana. But you chose me, the stubborn receptionist who doesn't bow her head to anyone. And do you know why? Because you are good. Truly good. You care about people, not appearances. You see value where others only see employees. She squeezed his hands. I promise to love you always, Even when you get nervous before important meetings, even when you have nightmares about clowns, I promise to be your partner in everything. In business, in life, in love, forever. Do you have the rings? The officiant asked. Thomas handed over the rings. Alexander placed the ring on Alyssa's finger. With this ring, I marry you. Alyssa placed the ring on his. With this ring, I marry you. And I officially become the only person allowed to call you Alex the janitor. Everyone laughed. Then, by the power given to me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Alexander pulled Alyssa into a kiss. The garden exploded in applause, joyful shouts, and emotional tears. Giuseppe was shamelessly sobbing. Helen tossed flower petals. Linda and Alyssa's father held each other crying. Thomas discreetly wiped his eyes again. The reception was held in the hotel's event hall. Elegant decor, delicious food prepared by Giuseppe, and live music. During dinner, Thomas made a toast. I met Alexander 10 years ago. Back then, he was a workaholic who lived in the office. He had no personal life, never relaxed, only worked. He raised his glass. Then he had the crazy idea of disguising himself as a janitor, and he found Alyssa. The woman who changed everything, who made him laugh, who challenged him, who loved him for who he is, not for what he has. To the most unlikely and perfect couple I know. Cheers. Cheers, everyone replied. Helen went next. I've worked with Alyssa for 3 years, and I can say she is the most amazing person I've ever met. Brave, funny, loyal. When Gerald tried to bring us down, she lifted us up. When guests were rude, she stayed calm. She is our leader, our friend, our family. Helen raised her glass. And Alexander, you were lucky she accepted you. More laughter and applause. The party went on until midnight. Dancing, laughter, pure joy. When the guests started to leave, Alexander and Alyssa stayed alone in the garden where they had been married. So, he said, now you're officially Alyssa Hawthorne. Actually, I'll keep Paige professionally. Alyssa Paige sounds better for a hotel manager. Fair, as long as at home you're my wife. Count on it. She leaned into him. Thank you. For what? For disguising yourself as a janitor that Tuesday. For really seeing me. For changing my life completely. Thank you for telling me to kiss you that night. For accepting my flaws. For making me the happiest person in the world. They stayed there, holding each other under the stars, in the same hotel where everything began. A hotel that had seen a billionaire in disguise. A brave receptionist, and an unlikely love that changed everything. And as Manhattan's lights glowed in the background, Alexander and Alyssa Hawthorne walked into the hotel hand in hand, ready to begin the greatest adventure of their lives. Together. What did you think of Alexander and Alyssa's story? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score do you give? Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to follow all our stories. And enjoy more emotional stories by clicking here on the final screen.